Tale of Two Cities. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was a time of belief. It was a time of debt. It was the season of light, and there was creeping darkness. A hilltop city, and a city in winter beneath. In the sunlight, futures glistened. There was no down. There was none but up. A promise that summers always remain. Promises kept away the clouds. The parachutes were golden. Below lay the city of the taxpayer. Larger by far, many hands labored day and night to support the hilltop city. In the darkness, they didn't notice the absence of small things, life's little joys. They fed their families. They worked hard to better their lives. And the politicians worked too. They talked of good things to lower people, promises of a better future, of money spent well. But there was an easy way. When no one was watching, they gave gifts to their sun-drenched friends from the work of the taxpayer people. The lower people didn't notice. So over the years, the gifts got bigger. Finally, the gifts, the promises, became so big that the people couldn't pay for them all. Behold, a tale of two cities, the shining and the dim. Behold a tale of two workers, from the high and from the low. Fireman Phil had a second career. He worked his 20 on the hilltop, then retired in the light. At the end of his second career, his wage was $90,000 a year. New Mexico Joe was an average man, of an average wage, who worked for 43 years. He had an average IRA and retired on Social Security. He made an average New Mexico wage of $43,000 at the end of the same year. Now Fireman Phil had chosen, having gained his 60 years, to share his joint pension with his child for a slightly lower amount. He nets a paltry $55,200 a year, a check of $4,600 a month, a reward for 20 years. Unknown in this tale is his first pension, but it was earned in the shining city, so surely it was good. Meanwhile, New Mexico Joe could not retire until 62, but he had a check from Uncle Sam for $12.66 a month, yearly $15,000.2. Joe is just an average guy, but wisdom made him save. His above-average IRA, lifetime savings was almost $48K. This gave him a monthly check of $267 and some change. So Joe retires on $1,533 from 43 years of work, Social Security and IRA. And Phil retires with two pensions. The first we do not know, but the second yields a check of $4,600 every month. And Phil is promised that every year his check will increase by 3%, and even more if inflation gnaws. All is guaranteed. It is good to be in the light. 20 years have now passed, and both are laid to rest. Fireman Phil's last check was $71.67 for the month. His total take in retirement was $1.7 mil. And Joe's check was slightly larger than when he first retired, $1,533, and whatever Congress would grant in the 20 years. Now Mrs. Joe takes his payout, the same it's always been, but Phil's daughter really cashes in. She starts out at $86,000 and reaps the 3%. When Joe's widow dies in 15 later years, the money that they both, Joe and Mrs. Joe, was $531,000. When Phil is gone, his daughter keeps collecting, just where Phil had left off. If she lives to 80 years, she'll collect over $500,000 per year. When all totals, both workers, Joe and Phil, and their loved ones have all died, New Mexico Joe from Taxpayer Valley will have taken $531,000, and Fireman Phil from up above, a second pension on the shining hill, will have a total take of $14.5 million from the many taxpayers down the hill. This is a true story from a New Mexico employee. As this tale shows, there are two classes within New Mexico. One group, the public workers, is able to cash in with a generous retirement when they grow old. They get a nice paycheck every year that grows by 3%. The money comes from none other than you, the taxpayer. Unfortunately, as a taxpayer, not only are you footing the bill for this incredibly generous government pension, but you have to work and save for your own retirement. Few private sector workers are able to save enough to receive tens of thousands of dollars annually. The public sector in New Mexico is paid significantly more than private sector employees. The unfunded liabilities to our state for public retirement benefits is likely to be $22 billion. Last year's budget was only $5.5 billion. A fiscal crisis is coming to New Mexico. Government workers have strong labor unions that advocate for this amazing largesse. Take the time to tell your legislator your thoughts on these outrageous benefits for public employees. I'm Paul Gessing, president of the Rio Grande Foundation. Thank you.